Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Today, let's talk about something simple yet profound: silence. In our world, it seems like we're constantly encouraged to speak up, make noise, and assert ourselves. And while that has its place, there's another, often overlooked power: the power of silence. Being silent isn't about being passive. It's about creating space for clarity, reflection, and genuine connection. Silence can be grounding, even transformative. When we choose silence, we learn more, understand deeper, and strengthen our influence, often without saying a word. So let's dive into why silence matters and how it can actually bring us closer to what we seek in life. It's not about withholding our voice, but about choosing when and how to use it. Silence helps us access our most insightful, courageous selves. Today, I'd like to share 7 key ideas on how silence, as subtle as it may seem, can help us gain everything that truly matters. Certainly. Here's an extended perspective on how silence creates self-awareness. Silence creates self-awareness in ways that are both subtle and profound. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept up in the noise of daily life, the constant conversations, opinions, expectations, and obligations. Amid all this, we often lose touch with our inner voice, that quiet sense of who we really are and what we genuinely want. Silence is a way to reconnect with this voice, to come back to ourselves, and to cultivate self-awareness. When we are silent, we make space to listen deeply to our thoughts and emotions. Often, our day-to-day experiences stir up feelings and beliefs that we barely have time to process. By choosing moments of silence, we give ourselves permission to notice and reflect on these inner dynamics without the need to react immediately or be productive. It's in this quiet space that we can begin to distinguish our own thoughts and desires from the noise and expectations of the outside world. Silence provides an opportunity to be honest with ourselves. It's an open invitation to examine our beliefs, motivations, and fears. When we allow ourselves to sit in silence, away from distraction, we can start to notice patterns in our thinking and feeling that we might otherwise overlook. Maybe we realize that certain goals we've been pursuing no longer resonate with us, or we identify recurring anxieties that reveal deeper, unresolved emotions. Silence brings these things to the surface and allows us to see them clearly. In silence, we come face to face with our true selves. And sometimes this isn't comfortable. There can be a temptation to avoid silence because it forces us to acknowledge parts of ourselves we might prefer to ignore: our doubts, insecurities, or unfulfilled desires. Yet, it's in this self-reflection that real growth happens. Silence allows us to sit with discomfort long enough to understand we begin to recognize where our fears are holding us back, or where we might need to make changes to align more closely with our values. Silence also helps us tune into our intuition. Many of us are so busy analyzing and overthinking that we lose touch with our instincts, that deep, almost primal sense of knowing. In silence, our mind slows down, allowing us to hear our intuition more clearly. This can be invaluable for self-awareness, as intuition often points us toward our most authentic path. It helps us recognize what truly matters to us, giving us a clearer sense of purpose and direction. Additionally, silence creates a space for us to ask ourselves important questions we may not consider in the rush of everyday life. We can ask ourselves, what truly makes me happy? What are my values? And am I living in alignment with them? What do I need to let go of in this quiet introspection? We gain insights into our desires, our strengths, our vulnerabilities, and our limitations. Each of these realizations deepens our self-awareness, giving us a clearer picture of who we are and who we want to become. Through silence, we also learn to be kinder to ourselves. In moments of silence, we can observe our self-talk, the often subtle ways we may be critical or judgmental toward ourselves. By bringing awareness to these patterns, we can gradually replace them with self-compassion. Silence teaches us that we don't need to be perfect, we just need to be present, to listen, and to understand ourselves more deeply. Ultimately, silence becomes a form of self-connection, grounding us in our own truth. It gives us a safe space to honor our experiences and accept ourselves as we are. And as we cultivate, certainly. Here's a deeper look at the idea that silence allows us to observe without judgment. Silence has a unique ability to shift our perspective, enabling us to see the world more clearly and without the filters of immediate judgment. In a world that encourages constant engagement and reaction, silence provides a pause, a chance to step back, observe, and understand without jumping to conclusions. This practice of silent observation has the power to enrich our lives, improve our relationships, and give us a more balanced view of the world. When we are silent, we become witnesses rather than reactors. Silence allows us to hold a space for simply noticing what's happening around us, without the pressure to interpret, label, or judge it right away. In this state, we can see things as they truly are without overlaying our biases, assumptions, or past experiences. By doing so, we become more objective, and this objectivity can be a pathway to greater wisdom. Observing in silence gives us time to process what's actually in front of us. For example, in conversations, we're often so focused on preparing our response or forming an opinion that we miss what the other person is genuinely communicating. When we remain silent, we have the chance to fully absorb what's being shared, not just on the surface level, but in all its depth and nuance. We notice the body language, the pauses, and even the emotions behind the words. This level of presence is incredibly powerful, as it allows us to see beyond the obvious and tap into the heart of the matter. Silence also helps us become more aware of our initial reactions and judgments. As we observe in silence, we might notice our mind's tendency to judge quickly, to label something as good or bad, right or wrong. In silence, we see these impulses arise, but we also learn not to act on them immediately. This awareness of our own mental patterns gives us the choice to step back from automatic reactions. We can then make more thoughtful, deliberate decisions instead of being driven by knee-jerk judgments. In this way, silence allows us to become more open-minded and compassionate. When we suspend judgment, we become more receptive to different viewpoints, beliefs, and behaviors. We're less likely to write someone off because of a single opinion or action. Instead, we can understand that people are complex and that everyone has reasons for acting the way they do. Silence gives us the patience to acknowledge this complexity and approach others with empathy. It reminds us that there's always more to a person or situation than meets the eye. Through silent observation, we also become more attuned to the details of life. The colors, sounds, and subtleties of our surroundings become more certainly. Here's a longer exploration of how silence connects us to others on a deeper level. Silence can be a bridge to deeper, more genuine connections with others. In a world that often emphasizes talking, asserting, and filling every pause, silence might seem like an unusual way to connect. However, choosing moments of silence can create an atmosphere that fosters understanding, trust, and closeness, qualities that are essential to meaningful relationships. When we learn to embrace silence with others, we unlock a unique and powerful way to connect. Silence allows us to listen fully. So often, when we're engaged in conversation, we're only partially listening. Our minds are busy formulating responses, thinking ahead, or reacting internally. But when we approach someone in silence, we're not just hearing words, we're absorbing the full meaning behind them. Silence helps us tune into the subtleties, the tone of voice, the emotions beneath the surface, the pauses and hesitations. It's a way of saying to the other person, I'm here. I'm fully present. This deep listening shows respect, and it gives people the space to express themselves openly. By holding silence, we allow others to feel truly heard and understood. Many people aren't used to being given undivided attention without interruption. When we offer this space, we create a safe environment for them to share their thoughts and feelings more fully. This can be especially powerful in moments when people are going through challenges or strong emotions. Rather than rushing to give advice or fill the silence with solutions, just being there quietly and attentively lets them know they're not alone. This form of presence can foster a profound sense of trust and intimacy. Silence also gives us the chance to connect beyond words. Often, we think that verbal communication is the only way to relate to others, but silence can convey empathy, solidarity, and compassion just as powerfully, if not more so, than words. Think of moments when words would feel inadequate, times of loss, awe, or deep emotion. In those instances, silence becomes a language awe, certainly. Here's an in-depth reflection on how silence strengthens our resolve. Silence has a quiet but powerful way of building resilience and strengthening our resolve. In a culture that prizes action, noise, and the hustle to achieve, silence can sometimes be misunderstood as inaction or weakness. But in reality, choosing silence, especially in challenging or stressful situations, can cultivate a deep inner strength. It's a way to ground ourselves, gain perspective, and tap into our most resilient qualities. Through silence, we build a quiet fortitude that helps us endure, adapt, and overcome. Silence provides space for self-reflection, allowing us to understand our true motivations and purpose. When life becomes overwhelming or difficult, it's easy to lose sight of our goals and to feel like we're spinning out of control. In these moments, silence offers us a chance to step back, reconnect with our deeper intentions, and remember why we're on a particular path. Through this reflection, we strengthen our commitment to what truly matters, letting go of distractions and superficial concerns. This self-clarity becomes a source of strength, giving us a renewed sense of purpose and direction. By embracing silence, we develop patience and the ability to endure. Challenges and setbacks are inevitable, but in silence, we learn not to react impulsively or become overwhelmed by frustration. Silence teaches us to sit with discomfort, allowing us to experience it without immediately trying to fix or escape it. This builds patience, a fundamental quality of resilience. Instead of giving up or seeking a quick way out, we learn to tolerate difficulties, knowing that they are temporary and that we have the strength to see them through. Over time, this capacity to endure and accept challenges without immediate reaction becomes a well of inner resolve. Silence allows us to process emotions and make clear-headed decisions. In stressful situations, emotions can run high, clouding our judgment and leading us to make hasty decisions that we might later regret. When we choose silence, we create a pause, a moment to calm our minds and regulate our emotions. This helps us see situations more objectively, making choices based on reason rather than reactivity. Silence becomes a buffer between ourselves and the pressure of the moment, giving us time to weigh our options and choose the course of action that aligns with our long-term goals. Certainly, here's an in-depth reflection on how silence strengthens our resolve. Silence has a quiet but powerful way of building resilience and strengthening our resolve. In a culture that prizes action, noise, and the hustle to achieve, silence can sometimes be misunderstood as inaction or weakness. But in reality, choosing silence, especially in challenging or stressful situations, can cultivate a deep inner strength. It's a way to ground ourselves, gain perspective, and tap into our most resilient qualities. Through silence, we build a quiet fortitude that helps us endure, adapt, and overcome. Silence provides space for self-reflection, allowing us to understand our true motivations and purpose. When life becomes overwhelming or difficult, it's easy to lose sight of our goals and to feel like we're spinning out of control. In these moments, silence offers us a chance to step back, reconnect with our deeper intentions, and remember why we're on a particular path. Through this reflection, we strengthen our commitment to what truly matters, letting go of distractions and superficial concerns. This self-clarity becomes a source of strength, giving us a renewed sense of purpose and direction. By embracing silence, we develop patience and the ability to endure. Challenges and setbacks are inevitable, but in silence, we learn not to react impulsively or become overwhelmed by frustration. Silence teaches us to sit with discomfort, allowing us to experience it without immediately trying to fix or escape it. This builds patience, a fundamental quality of resilience. Instead of giving up or seeking a quick way out, we learn to tolerate difficulties, knowing that they are temporary and that we have the strength to see them through. Over time, this capacity to endure and accept challenges without immediate reaction becomes a well of inner resolve. Silence allows us to process emotions and make clear-headed decisions. In stressful situations, emotions can run high, clouding our judgment and leading us to make hasty decisions that we might later regret. When we choose silence, we create a pause, a moment to calm our minds and regulate our emotions. This helps us see situations more objectively, making choices based on reason rather than reactivity. Silence becomes a buffer between ourselves and the pressure of the moment, giving us time to weigh our options and choose the course of action that aligns with our long-term goals. Silence also helps us conserve energy and avoid burnout. Constant engagement, talking, and responding to the demands of the world can drain us, especially during challenging times. When we're silent, we're not using energy on external distractions or unnecessary conversations. Instead, we're able to channel our mental and emotional resources toward what truly matters. Silence helps us recharge, preserving our strength and focus so that we're better equipped to handle difficult situations. This conservation of energy is vital in maintaining resolve over the long haul, especially when facing prolonged challenges. Through silence, we cultivate self-discipline, which is essential for strengthening resolve. Choosing silence over impulsive reactions, especially in moments of conflict or provocation, requires control. It's an act of self-discipline to resist the urge to defend, argue, or justify ourselves at every turn. When we practice this discipline, we build the inner strength to stay true to our values and priorities, regardless of outside pressures. Over time, this ability to maintain our calm and composure becomes a cornerstone of resilience, enabling us to stay focused on our goals, even in the face of distractions or opposition. Silence fosters humility and an openness to learning. In moments of silence, we recognize that we don't have all the answers and that it's okay to sit with uncertainty. This humility strengthens our resolve by reminding us that challenges and setbacks are opportunities for growth. When we're open to learning from our experiences, rather than resisting or denying them, we gain wisdom and insight. This willingness to embrace life's lessons, even the difficult ones, deepens our resilience, making us more adaptable and prepared for future obstacles. Perhaps most importantly, silence connects us to our inner strength and resilience. When we sit in silence, free from external noise, we become more attuned to our inner voice, a quiet, steady presence that reminds us of our ability to endure and persevere. This inner voice is a source of courage and reassurance, reminding us that we have faced challenges before and that we have the strength to face them again. By connecting with this inner resilience, we cultivate a sense of trust in ourselves and our ability to handle whatever comes our way. In conclusion, silence is a powerful tool for building and sustaining our resolve. It gives us space for self-reflection, fosters patience and endurance, helps us manage our emotions, conserves our energy, builds self-discipline, encourages humility, and connects us with our inner resilience. And in silence, we find the strength to persevere, to stay true to our path, and to face challenges with a calm and steady resolve. This inner fortitude developed through silence becomes a wellspring of resilience that carries us through even the most difficult moments of life. Certainly. Here's an extended look at how silence enhances decision-making. Silence is often an underrated tool in decision-making, yet it plays a crucial role in helping us make wiser, more thoughtful choices. In a world that emphasizes rapid responses and instant gratification, silence can feel like a luxury or even an indulgence. But when we embrace it, silence becomes a powerful ally that offers clarity, perspective, and balanced qualities essential for making sound decisions. By allowing ourselves time in silence, we can weigh our options more fully, understand our motivations, and make choices that align with our true goals and values. Silence creates space for reflection, allowing us to examine decisions without external pressure. So often, we're influenced by the noise around us, opinions from family, friends, colleagues, or society in general. In this environment, it's easy to make decisions based on what's expected or what seems popular rather than what truly feels right. But in silence, these voices quiet down and we gain a moment of respite to consider our own inner guidance. Without external influence, we can look at our choices more objectively, asking ourselves questions like, is this what I really want? Or is this decision aligned with my values? This introspection fosters authenticity, leading us to make decisions that reflect who we are at our core. Silence also allows us to process emotions, which can cloud judgment. When faced with a difficult decision, Emotions such as fear, excitement, or doubt can easily get in the way of clarity. Silence gives us a moment to sit with these feelings, understand where they come from, and let them settle. Instead of making impulsive choices out of anger, frustration, or even euphoria, we can recognize these emotions without letting them control our decision. Silence helps us cultivate emotional awareness, allowing us to separate temporary feelings from lasting priorities. This detachment from immediate emotional responses is essential for making decisions that are thoughtful, measured, and aligned with our long-term goals. In silence, we tap into our intuition, an often overlooked but valuable resource. While logic and analysis are essential, intuition can add another layer of insight. Intuition is that gut feeling or inner sense that sometimes knows the right answer even when facts are limited. However, intuition is subtle, and it's easy to miss its guidance in a world filled with noise and distraction. Silence allows us to tune into this inner knowing, to listen to that quiet voice within. In moments of stillness, we can connect with our instincts and allow them to guide us toward decisions that might not seem logical on the surface but resonate deeply with us. Often, these intuitive insights lead us to choices that are more fulfilling in the long run. Silence also provides the mental clarity needed to organize and evaluate our options. When we're bombarded with information, our minds can become cluttered. Certainly, here's an in-depth exploration of how silence cultivates empathy and compassion. Silence, when embraced, can be a powerful gateway to empathy and compassion. In a world where conversation and noise are often celebrated as markers of connection, silence can seem counterintuitive. But in reality, silence holds the space needed for deep listening, understanding, and connection, all of which are essential for true empathy and compassion. When we allow ourselves to be still and quiet, especially in the presence of others, we open ourselves to understanding their experiences in a profound way. Silence isn't an absence of communication, it's a different form of it, one that can reveal a shared humanity. Silence allows us to listen fully without the impulse to respond right away. Often, when someone shares their thoughts or feelings with us, our instinct is to react, whether with advice, solutions, or our own stories. But this impulse, however well-intentioned, can prevent us from really hearing what the other person is trying to convey. Silence gives us permission to set aside our reactions and judgments, creating a space where we can listen with openness. In this receptive state, we're able to hear not just the words, but the emotion, vulnerability, and truth behind them. This deep listening is at the heart of empathy. It tells the other person, I am here for you, with no agenda, simply to understand. Through silence, we become more attuned to nonverbal communication, the language of presence. Many times, people express themselves in ways beyond words, through body language, facial expressions, or tone of voice. In silence, we can focus on these subtle cues, picking up on feelings, and certainly, here's a deeper look at how silence is a form of strength. Silence, often seen as passive or submissive, is in fact one of the most powerful expressions of strength. Choosing silence requires restraint, control, and courage, especially in a world that encourages us to react, assert, and fill every pause with our presence. But silence is far from weakness. It's a quiet power that allows us to gather our thoughts, understand ourselves more deeply, and maintain a sense of calm and clarity, even when circumstances around us are turbulent. True strength lies not in the volume of our voice, but in the depth of our understanding, and silence plays a crucial role in building that strength. Silence requires self-discipline and self-control. In moments of conflict or confrontation, it's easy to let emotions dictate our words and actions. We might feel the urge to defend ourselves, argue, or prove a point, often without fully considering the consequences. Silence, however, requires us to pause, to hold back, and to refrain from acting on immediate impulses. This ability to resist reaction, to create space between an event and our response, is a sign of remarkable inner strength. By choosing silence, we're asserting control over our own mind, allowing ourselves to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. This level of self-discipline is challenging to cultivate, but it builds resilience and stability, both of which are essential for facing life's challenges. It's often said. Certainly, Here's a deeper look at how silence is a form of strength. Silence, often seen as passive or submissive, is in fact one of the most powerful expressions of strength. Choosing silence requires restraint, control, and courage, especially in a world that encourages us to react, assert, and fill every pause with our presence. But silence is far from weakness. It's a quiet power that allows us to gather our thoughts, understand ourselves more deeply, and maintain a sense of calm and clarity even when circumstances around us are turbulent. True strength lies not in the volume of our voice, but in the depth of our understanding, and silence plays a crucial role in building that strength. Silence requires self-discipline and self-control. In moments of conflict or confrontation, it's easy to let emotions dictate our words and actions. We might feel the urge to defend ourselves, argue, or prove a point, often without fully considering the consequences. Silence, however, requires us to pause, to hold back, and to refrain from acting on immediate impulses. This ability to resist reaction, to create space between an event and our response, is a sign of remarkable inner strength. By choosing silence, we're asserting control over our own mind, allowing ourselves to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. This level of self-discipline is challenging to cultivate, but it builds resilience and stability, both of which are essential for facing life's challenges. Silence allows us to process emotions, strengthening our emotional resilience in times of difficulty or pain. Many of us instinctively try to distract ourselves or talk through our feelings, sometimes without fully understanding them. Silence, however, encourages us to sit with our emotions, to experience them fully without judgment or suppression. This can be uncomfortable, but in doing so, we become more comfortable with discomfort itself. We learn that emotions, no matter how intense, are temporary, and that we can withstand them without needing to escape or react. This practice of being with our emotions in silence builds our capacity to face life's inevitable hardships with resilience, knowing that we can handle them. It's an inner strength that doesn't rely on external validation or reassurance, but on our own ability to process, endure, and move forward. Choosing silence in response to criticism or negativity is a powerful act of strength and self-respect. It's often said, in a world that often values loud voices and quick responses, it takes true courage and strength to embrace silence. But as we've explored, silence is not empty. It's a space filled with self-awareness, resilience, empathy, and understanding. It allows us to listen deeply, to reflect thoughtfully, and to act with clarity and purpose. Through silence, we connect not only with ourselves, but with others in ways that words alone cannot achieve. So let us remember that silence is not the absence of action, but a powerful choice. It's a way of gathering strength, building resilience, and finding the clarity needed to live with purpose and compassion. As we move forward, may we honor the power of silence in our lives, letting it guide us to become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. In silence, we find the strength to be fully present, both for ourselves and for those around us. Thank you.